This is Russell Fagan, aka Sinistral Rifleman, and this is my video for the 2-Gun Action Challenge match held April 20th, 2019. This was the match that was recently showcased on InRange TV with the FAL that didn't work. Carl was out of town when this match was held, so I was given the opportunity to co-host with Ian, evaluating his DS Arms Israeli FAL build. I have used other 308s at the 2-Gun Action Challenge match before, including the Scar H and the Wyndham Weaponry SRC 308. I'm willing to take the hit with higher recoil and lower capacity in the interest of seeing how well I can perform with a rifle like this. Using a 308 at these matches is generally a disadvantage, even if there is a spinner present. The increased recoil and shot-to-shot recovery time slows the shooter down significantly, making it hard to break past the top 5 in my experience. Nonetheless, there are things to be learned using a rifle in an action match environment like this, such as practicality, ease of use, and the ability to make hits under pressure. If a rifle simply doesn't work, none of these things can be accurately evaluated, and it in no way allows me to gauge how well I can perform with that particular rifle. Fighting malfunctions is not an accurate assessment of shooter skill with a particular rifle. With these things in mind, prior to filming, I told both Carl and Ian that if the FAL were to fail, I would switch to an AR that was configured in a manner similar to what the Israelis used after they switched away from using the FAL. What you're going to see here is the match from my perspective of my POV camera and my commentary as the match progressed. This stage requires that the shooter begin with a 5-round magazine in their hand, crawling through the Cooper tunnel, loading the rifle, and begin engaging a single steel target through each of the designated ports. The only experience I have with this rifle before beginning the stage is dry firing it a few times. I start with the high ports because they are the most stable positions, and I want to make the best of having only 5 rounds in the magazine. I go 1 for 1 on the hits from the first 5 ports, and I only have to go back and retrieve a magazine for the last shooting position. I remove the magazine and set the rifle down so it's ready to load as soon as I come back. Unfortunately, because the magwell on the FAL is much shorter than an AR, it scoops up a bunch of rocks and sand as I put it down in the ground.
Oh, hey, we're doing a rock test now.
High left.
I have to combat rack the rifle because the bolt is stuck. The bolt will also not go back into battery. My initial assumption is that the debris from the range is what was blocking the bolt from going into battery.
Left.
I'm done.
Okay.
Continuing to beat the bolt closed with a potential chamber obstruction isn't necessarily safe, and not something I want to do with someone else's rifle. Even combat racking a rifle like I had to do here can damage components, and again, it's not mine, so I don't want to abuse this rifle more than necessary. After my first run through, the rifle was thoroughly cleaned, and Ian did not see a bore obstruction or chamber obstruction. He determined that the root of the malfunctions was most likely the magazine. In the interest of testing the rifle, I was allowed to reshoot the stage for score. This time I propped the rifle up so it cannot lay down in the dirt and scoop up more rocks and debris. I was 2nd out of 4 in Tack Irons division and 12th out of 44 overall. This stage requires that the shooter stay seated while engaging the paper targets with their handgun. The plate rack is no shoots. After engaging the paper, the shooter will take the unloaded rifle and move to the other shooting area. They can only load once they are past the fault line.
Yay, FAL!
From this window, I suffer a failure to eject. Note, it was not caused by a casing bouncing off the prop and back into the action. The bolt simply came to the rear and did not kick the cement casing out. I was 2nd out of 4 in tack irons and 10th out of 44 overall. After the malfunctions I experienced and watching Ian experience a total of 4 malfunctions himself, I was no longer interested in shooting the match with the FAL. There was nothing to be learned from it in my opinion other than it simply doesn't work, and the malfunctions seemed to accelerate the more into the match we got. I switched to using my retro AR for the last 2 stages. On this stage there are 2 steel targets downrange at 50 yards. The shooter must get 2 hits on each in sweeps, meaning they get 1 hit on one hit on the other, 1 hit on the first, then 1 hit on the second again. This process repeats from all 3 positions with the rifle before going downrange and engaging the pistol array.
Hit! Move!
It was not mandated that the popper activators be engaged first, so I shoot the small steel that would swing before engaging the poppers.
Press it! Unload. Triggers.
I was 1st out of 4 in tack irons and 2nd out of 44 overall on this stage. This stage requires 2 hits on 3 steel targets that can be double taps from each of these shooting positions. At the end of these engagements, the shooter grounds the rifle and returns to the first position to engage one of the steel targets with their pistol.
Hit! If you're finished, show me clear. Clear. Hand me down and holster.
I was 2nd out of 4 tack iron shooters on this stage and 5th out of 44 shooters overall. In the end, I was 1st out of 4 tack iron shooters and 3rd out of 44 shooters overall. Switching to the AR for the last 2 stages allowed me to make up for the problems I had dealing with the FAL. It is unfortunate that the FAL did not run for the duration of the match. I was genuinely interested in seeing how I would perform with that particular rifle in this environment. But with the number of malfunctions that occurred, there was nothing to be gained by continuing to use it. The way to diagnose malfunctions is administratively on a static range, not under the pressure of the clock in a match environment. Really, the only thing that I learned from using this rifle is that this particular FAL doesn't work. I'm sure there are plenty of FALs out there that do, but for whatever reason, this one simply did not, and it's beyond the scope of my abilities or this video to determine why it was not working. There were a number of negative comments on the in-range videos after I switched to the AR during this match. Some people said I exercised bad form. No, bad form would have been switching to an AR without discussing it with the hosts of the show first. Others said that I rage quit or pussied out. Again, I disagree. Rage quitting or pussying out would be simply leaving and going home because the rifle didn't work and not posting the video at all. Again, I'm willing to take a hit and use less competitive equipment if that equipment actually works. But signing up to use a rifle that's malfunctioning every 3 to 5 shots isn't something I'm interested in. The AR I switched to is representative of those issued to many military forces during the late 80s and early 90s. Nothing about this rifle is upgraded. It did not have a free float tube, did not have a muzzle brake, did not have a match trigger. Malfunctions aside, you can compare how I performed with the FAL versus a basic AR and consider that maybe there's a reason why, aside from reliability, that many military forces switched away from battle rifles to assault rifles in 5.56. Finally, on a lighter note, some people asked if anyone tried to roll underneath the sticks on the first stage that you saw us shoot. Here's my friend Allie competing in PCC division, showing us how to properly execute a roll underneath the sticks on the clock. Allie has only been competing since December of 2018. You can follow her on Instagram at Rainbow Fires to track her competition progress and see some of the other interesting things that she does.
Charge it. Hit. Hit. Hit.
Thank you for watching. Come back again for more match and multi-gun competition content.